I'm Ray. Welcome to Wine Tap Tips. Now, you often hear me talk about how much I like sweet wine, or I highly recommend sweet wine. Today we're going to be talking with Sebastiano once again about probably my favorite Vin Santo. This is one that has just beautiful fruit flavors. It has that dry, that dried fruit. You don't have that alcohol burn. It's not oxidized. It's just absolutely delicious. So I'm going to ask Mr. Sebastiano to kind of tell us about it. I mean, this is a very unique Vin Santo.
Yeah, Vin Santo, it's as the name entails, means a holy wine, and the reason why it's called like this has many different probably explanations, but I think the most reliable explanation would be the one that it's called the holy wine. Vin Santo means holy wine because it was used by the priests for the masses in order for, and it was wine obtained by process of oxidation, so they could use a little bit of it every time for each mass, without having to worry about the wine going bad, and you can keep a bottle open for on the counter for weeks and months, and they don't have to worry about wine going bad.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's probably the reason why it's used as sacramental wine. It's used as sacramental. There's also an historical explanation that goes back to the Council of Florence between the Eastern and Western churches in the middle of the 1400s, when one of the Greek bishops, his name was Vissarione, tasted the wine and said, "Oh, this is Santos wine. I mean, this is wine with wine making Santos in Greece." And the Florentines, not understanding what he was saying, because he was talking Greek, understood that he said Santos, and so they thought, "Oh, he likes the wine so much, he thinks it's Santo, it's Vin Santo, it's holy wine." So these are the two main explanations. There's also another explanation that traditionally the harvest, the pressing of the grapes was done around December, around Christmas time, which is holy period for Christianity. So there are several elements, but the main characteristic of Vin Santo, it's always been the welcoming wine. It's always been the wine that you would offer to people when they came to your house. So if you went to somebody's house in Tuscany, they will offer you a glass of Vin Santo. Oftentimes it will be bone dry for the men, and the ladies will get a sweeter version of Vin Santo. We call it in Italian Vin Santo per Signore, the latest Vin Santo, which will be with more residual sugar. When I approached the Vin Santo, my family always made very traditional Vin Santo, very dry, because my father still has his own little batch of Vin Santo that he uses for his broth, because he puts it in a meat broth to cut through the fat. Dry Vin Santo to meat broth to cut through the fat, which is actually very, very good. But when I approached the subject of Vin Santo, I said I wanted something for after dinner. I wanted something that I usually drink, rye, scotch, bourbon after dinner. I like to sip on my drink after dinner, and that's why I thought I would wanted to make something that I could drink after a meal, not necessarily with dessert, and that could be as deep, as complex, and as persistent as a good scotch. And so that's why I decided to change the way of making Villa Calcinaia by increasing the amount of hanging of the grapes. So we wait until we reach about 100 grams of sugar. So that may take 4 to 6 months, depending on depending how much wind we get, how humid, how dry is the winter. And then when we reach that level of sugar, we manually press the grapes. The grapes involved are 2 white grapes, the Piano Malvasia Bianca, and the third grape it's a red grape called Canaiolo. And this must, from the raisins, because basically we're talking about raisins, is then put in small barrels, Slavonian. And the thing is that I moved all the barrels from which used to be in the tower to the cellar, because in the tower the heat was too intense, and the risk is when with so much sugar that when the heat becomes too intense, you don't only enact yeast, but you also can enact bacteria. And the bacteria start eating the sugars. The byproduct will not be alcohol, will be acetic acid. So you're not making Vin Santo, you're actually making very good vinegar. So all the process made by wild yeast, so we don't control fermentation, we don't inoculate any kind of yeast, and it happens within a closed vessel. So two things you have to remember when you do an operation like this, that you have to remember to seal the vessel by blocking the bond with cement. And the other element is you have to remember not to fill the vessel completely, leave at least 1/3 empty in order to enable to liquid to expand. Because if you don't do that, the sheer pressure of fermentation will crack the barrel or will pump the bottle.
That was mentioned in your ancestors' book on how to make wine, when talking about the grape leaf with the rock,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of interesting. So
I got a picture. And the element is that in the bean and the cellar, this cellar has one window looking on the outside, so they at least feel the change of season every year, but they go much more slowly. So it's more kind of a sluggish operation, so it takes them quite a long time to reach the level of alcohol, which is this Vin Santo has, which is 12 alcohol. It may take 4 or 5 years.
wow, so it's basically making wine in a slow cooker.
In a slow cooker, exactly. It takes a very long time. And then when we realize, we make analysis that the yeast are not eating sugars anymore, because it's an osmotic process. Once the liquid becomes too thick, they cannot pull out any more nutrients, so they go kind of dormant. So we realize that depending on the level of volatility, we may decide to top up the barrel or not. But we know that there's not going to be any more fermentations. And this one has done 9 years of aging. The barrels we're looking at small barrels, about 15 gallons, the size of barrels, and it's fully 95% to the Slavonian oak. There's 2 or 3 French oak barrels there.
Now, 2 quick questions. One, I talked about milestone wines, wines that you buy for wedding to drink over years, your child's birth. How many years do you think your Vin Santo would last? Something that grandchildren could enjoy? Easily a good 50 years? And then, just to confirm for everybody out there, your Vin Santo, in an easy description or dialed down, is kind of starts off like an Amarone where you mentioned drying the grapes, and then it's kind of made in a process where oxidation, but you don't fortify the wine. That's where it's different than sherry. So like sherry, you let it oxidize, but
like a sherry fino.
Like a soup,
we don't fortify.
You don't fortify.
No.
So it's unique unto itself, but has 2 little similarities that people can kind of understand.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. I think it's just absolutely deliciousness in a glass. And for the people who like sweet wine or something special, I highly recommend it. And if you don't like sweet wine, you are really missing out, and you should try it. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And here's to living the wild wine life.
Cheers.
Cheers.